Okay, I am finally going to do my hospital video. So I actually did one of these before, only a few days after I had gotten out of the hospital, but it was 32 minutes long. So this is my attempt to make it shorter, and I know it will be shorter because I've probably have already started to forget some things. So just like most people, I had to get to the hospital 2 hours early. So my surgery was scheduled for 2:30 in the afternoon. I actually got there 2.5 hours early, which was a good thing because once I got there, because my surgery was on January 4th, so it was right after New Year's and Christmas had been the previous week. The woman told me when I was trying to get registered, she said that they had tried to call my insurance company and couldn't get a hold of anyone because they were closed. So she needed to call them right then to get a pre-authorization number. Well, it's January 4th, and so we were on hold for about 35 minutes before another lady in the office said that she had a certification number for me and then gave her the number and told me to go ahead and, get upstairs to pre-op. I'll tell you more about that situation later. So I get upstairs and there's no one in the waiting room, probably because it's just such a late time for surgery. And as I was at the front desk there getting, checked in, the nurse was already standing at the door waiting to take me back into the pre-surgery area. So at first she gave me the option. So I was there with my father and his girlfriend. And she gave me the option of whether or not I wanted them to come back with me right then, or did I want to wait until after I was all prepped. Of course, it was with my father, so I wanted him to wait until I was all prepped. So I get into the pre-op area, which is actually the exact same area that I had been before when I had my colonoscopy there. So as soon as I get there, let me step back for a second. So a lot of people have to do the by the betadine or the HiPoCleanse or the chlorhexidine wipes to wipe down with before surgery. I was just told to take take a shower that morning using an antibacterial soap, and then not to use any creams or lotions, but I could use deodorant. So when I got into my little curtained room, the nurse gave me a gown, and then she gave me some warm chlorhexidine pads. And there were 6 of them. And so she said, I was going to use 1 pad for each arm, 1 for each leg, and then 1 for my stomach and 1 for my back. Which I thought that was an interesting idea. It makes sense to me because, you're at home. Who knows what time you take a shower and then you put on your clothes and then you get in a car and you travel. You're not really disinfected anymore, but whatever. So I took my little bath with those towels and then put on my robe. I was trying to do it as fast as possible because, I could hear lots of other people on the other side of the curtain, and I was so afraid that somebody was going to open up my curtain by accident. So right when I had finished, the nurse did come to the curtain and she yelled out, "Do you need help with your back?" And actually I didn't. That's something that's already an NSV. The pounds that I've already lost, I'm now able to actually reach probably all areas of my back I'm able to reach, whereas I wouldn't have been able to do that like 35 pounds ago. So, the nurse was very friendly. All the nurses at this hospital are very friendly. This is Banner Gateway Medical Center. So she started, making sure that I didn't have allergies, asking me all the standard questions that they always ask you. So while she was going through that, another nurse came in and introduced herself, and she said that she was going to be the one who got my IV started and some other things. So the first thing she brought with her was the scopolamine patch, which is the little patch that they put behind your ear. It's good for 72 hours. It's used for motion sickness or for nausea. So, I was really glad that right away they put that on as your first defense against nausea. So then she got ready to start the IV. And she was getting my hand ready, and I can tell that she was just about to put it in my hand. And I was like, do you have to put it in my hand? And I probably would have been afraid to ask that, except for when I was there for my colonoscopy, the nurse just automatically gave me a choice. She said, do you want it in your arm or in your hand? And I said, yeah, of course I want it in my arm. Because I had a colonoscopy 10 years ago, and they put it in my hand at that time, and it was more than 10 years ago. And it was so painful that I remember now that I was in pain for weeks. And so I've always kind of said to myself, if I can help not having an IV in my hand, I'm not going to have one. So only because I had been given a choice at this same hospital before, that's why when this woman was about to put it in my hand, I said, well, can you put it in my arm instead? And she's like, okay. She's like, usually I start down below and then we move up so that I have some place to go in case we can't get a line. And then she's like, the other reason is that when it's in your arm, it's easy for you to bend your arm or do something, and then the IV line gets kinked, and then the IV is going to start beeping and waking you up like in the middle of the night. And I was like, I'm going to take the chance. So she put it in my arm, and I was very, very happy with that. So then starts the parade of all of the doctors and things. So the anesthesiologist came in, and they all came separate. I mean, it's like, it would be better if they would come at the same time so that they could hear my answers to the questions and I didn't have to keep answering the same questions over and over again. So it's like the anesthesiologist came in, and then the anesthesiologist's assistant came in, and then a PA came in, and then another PA came in, and a student came in with another PA to, they wanted to make sure that I didn't mind if the student was there. And then it was about at this point when the nurse gave me my heparin shot in my stomach. She did a very good job. I didn't feel anything. And then they asked me if I was ready for my father to come back. And I was like, yes. And, they're really so considerate because they said, do you want, you still haven't seen your surgeon yet. Do you want your father to hear what you say to the surgeon or what the surgeon says to you? And I was like, oh yeah, I don't care. And so it was nice of them to, they're always thinking of your privacy and things like that. So then my father came back with his girlfriend, and we took some pictures and things while we were waiting for my surgeon. And then my surgeon came in, and at that point it was about 1 hour until my surgery. And he told the nurses that we were right on time. And so then, he looked at me and asked me how I was doing, and then asked me how I did on my liquid diet. Well, first he was like, how much weight did you lose on your liquid diet? Now, if you watched any of my other videos, I was very disappointed that I only lost like 7 pounds. I think it was 7.4 pounds on my liquid diet, because it was a very strict liquid diet, and I did it strictly for 13 days. It was supposed to be 14 days, but I did 13 days perfectly, and I still only lost 7 pounds. The first day, I just didn't start the diet. It was a cheat day, and then I started, the next day. And I was actually going to tell the surgeon that, because I thought he was going to ask me that question when we were, like, during one of my appointments, when it's just me and him in the room. But, when I told him I only lost 7 pounds, he was like, did you cheat? And, my father was there, and all the nurses was there, and I'm laying in the bed, and I just automatically was like, no. And so then he frowned, not at the fact that I cheated, but he was just seemed very distressed about the fact that I only lost 7.4 pounds. And so then he was like, well, maybe you're just retaining water. And he's like, okay, well, we'll see. We'll see you back there. And so I had been in a really good mood, actually, until that point. Just seeing the look on his face and knowing how hard I had worked on my liquid diet to not cheat. Because I did not cheat, except for the first day. But I didn't cheat on the first day. I just didn't start on the first day. And then I did it for 13 days. Whatever. So my surgeon doesn't do drains, and he also doesn't really like to mess with catheters. So right before I was going to go back, the nurse took me to empty my bladder literally minutes before I was going to head into surgery. She's like, if you empty your bladder now, then there's no reason that you should have to go in the middle of surgery, so you're not going to need a catheter. And I like that. So so I emptied my bladder, got back into bed, said goodbye to my father and his girlfriend. Also when my surgeon was in the room, he was very nice. He directed questions and comments to them and to me. And, he told them what to expect. He told them how the surgery will take about an hour and a half, which doesn't take that long, but, and that he'll come out and tell them as soon as I'm done how it went, and then I'll be in recovery for several hours, and then I'll be taken up to my room. So then he left. And then the nurse told me that I was going to be given something so that I can relax and that I would be knocked out before I actually end up in the surgery room. And I was very happy to hear that, because when I had my endoscopy, I think I kept saying colonoscopy earlier. I meant I had an endoscopy there, not a colonoscopy. I had a colonoscopy and endoscopy 10 years ago, but this time all I needed was an endoscopy. But anyway, when I had my endoscopy, I was fine. You're not really put to sleep. You're in a twilight sleep. I was fine until they took me into the operating room. And when I was in the operating room and I was sitting there and I saw, all of the instruments and things, and then the anesthesiologist put the mask on my face, then I started actually getting a little afraid. Like, what if I don't wake up from this twilight sleep? And I didn't want to go through that again for this surgery. And so I was really glad when she told me that I was going to be asleep before I even head into the operating room. However, she didn't take into the account that the operating room is only a few steps literally away from where I was right then. And so they did give me something to relax me, but they gave it to me and then they immediately started pushing me down the hallway. And like I said, the operating room was literally like 2 doors away. So I saw myself going into the operating room because it wasn't enough time for whatever they gave me to take effect. But it still was pretty speedy, because all I remember was going down the hallway thinking, I'm wide awake. And then I remember us going into the operating room, like going through the doors, but then I don't remember anything else. Now, I'm pretty sure that I actually was awake still for some time, but that's the magic of those drugs. They also wipe your memory of things. So I don't remember anything else. All I remember is thinking I'm awake, this drug is not working, and then them opening the door, and then I wake up in recovery. Okay, I'm going to have to pause this for a moment. Okay, this is already longer than I want it to be, so I'm going to speed it up. So like I said, the next thing I know, I wake up in recovery. The nurse had also warned me that it's very possible that some people wake up a little early and they become aware of the breathing tube down their throat. And so she was warning me that might happen. And that didn't happen, because when I woke up in recovery, I was just laying there in the bed, no breathing tubes, no catheters, no drains, nothing. So basically, I open my eyes and it's like, oh, I'm alive. I made it. And as soon as I opened my eyes, there was a nurse that was sitting, next to my bed, charting in the computer, a male nurse, and he looked over at me and he's like, "Are you thirsty? Do you want some ice chips?" And I didn't even know if I was thirsty yet, but I assumed that I was. And so, I said yes. I was pleased that I was able to have some ice chips right away. So because of that, I never had to use my mouth spray or biotin or anything like that, because I was immediately able to eat ice chips and drink water. But anyway, he gave me the ice chips, and then right away he wanted to know what my pain was on a scale 1 to 10. And at that time, it was probably about an 8, maybe a 7.5. Not as bad as I probably expected to feel. And so then he immediately gave me some pain medication. I later found out that it was Dilaudid. And then I drifted back off to sleep. By the time I woke up later, the nurse gave me some more ice chips, and then he was like, "We're very full right now. We're just waiting for your room to be ready." And so it's like I drifted off to sleep again, and then the next thing I know, I heard him telling a volunteer she's ready to go up to her room. So my surgery was at 2:30, and I was wheeled into my room at 6 o'clock that evening. So as soon as I got to my room, a nurse was right there. It's like the nurse appeared, and even like a few minutes later, then my father and his girlfriend appeared. And so the nurse, introduced herself. It's really nice. If you look at my 2-day post-op video, I have a little video of the way my room looked, and the bathroom door was a door that they could write stuff on, and so the nurse had her name on there. She had my aide's name on there. She had other important things, like they had these papers on there like bariatric do's and bariatric don'ts, like don't drink out of a straw, or I don't remember all of them now, but it was like all these things that you shouldn't do, and then all these things that you should do, like sip your water and take walks and stuff like that. And so, she told me right away, she said, "Okay, you have to get up out of this bed and take at least one walk within the next 4 hours." And so she wrote down, walk by 10 p.m. And then she asked me what my pain level was again, and I think at that time it was like a 7.5, and so she immediately gave me some Dilaudid, and then she also gave me some IV Zofran, which is also for nausea. And she told me that every 4 hours I'm going to get the Zofran around the clock, and then I'm allowed to have pain medication every 4 hours if I need it. And I think that was it. And she left me, and I drifted again, and I had a friend that came and visited, so none of that's important. So later, probably about 8 o'clock, I got up for the first time in order to take a walk. I had to use my call button to get someone to help me out of bed. And the first time I tried to get out of bed, I could not, I could stand, but I couldn't walk without a walker. I was dizzy, I was lightheaded, I was weak. And so, he grabbed a walker, and so basically I used the walker to help me get down the hallway. I didn't have a lot of pain walking. It was just the dizziness and the lightheadedness. And then after the walk, I also went to the bathroom for the first time. They have a little thing in the toilet so they can look at your urine. I don't know why. No one ever told me what they were looking for. They weren't measuring it, because every time I went, someone would just go in there and glance at the urine and dump it out. So maybe they were just checking to see what color it was, or make sure there was no blood or something like that. By like 10 o'clock, the nurse came back in again to give me my Zofran shot and to give me my blood pressure medication. I take blood pressure medication twice a day. So I had taken one that morning before the surgery. She crushed it up and gave it to me in water, which I was really scared to try, but it actually didn't taste too bad. It's not one of those bitter medications. And then she gave me a choice with my pain medication this time. She said, we try to get people off of the IV pain meds as soon as possible. And so, do you think that you're ready to try the liquid pain medication? And I was like, yeah, sure. Because I think at that time my pain was probably about a 7. And so I was like, why not? I don't need to be on this IV Dilaudid, even though it was nice. So she gave me the liquid, which was like a liquid hydrocodone acetaminophen, which is like Lortab or Vicodin. She gave me that, gave me another heparin shot, gave me my blood pressure medication, asked me if I wanted some chicken broth, and because the kitchen was closed, and I said yes. I wasn't hungry or anything, but I was eager to see. I was eager to experience a new sensation. Like, what does warm liquids taste like? How does the chicken broth taste? Because during the day, I was very lucky. I was not having a hard time drinking. I mean, I still needed to sip and drink very slowly, but it wasn't as difficult as some people have said. Some people, whatever. It's not as difficult. It wasn't as difficult for me as it has been for other people. So I had been sipping water and getting my ice chips, and so then she gave me that chicken broth, which I probably had like 1/4 of a cup. I didn't need any more. Okay, let's see. Fast forward to the next day. The next morning, this was even though the whole floor was busy, every room was full, it was very quiet. And so I slept well. I wasn't even interrupted. I mean, when that nurse came in at 10, no one else came in to bother me again until like 4 o'clock in the morning, I think it was, when a woman came to draw my blood. So in the morning it starts all over again with your meds. I woke up, still the pain was about a 7, and but the pain medication always like knocked it right out. I was a little nauseous, but not as nauseous as I expected to be. And I didn't have any gas pains at all. I don't know why. I didn't have any. I didn't have any gas pains the last time I had surgery. I had a hysterectomy, and it was laparoscopic. And I didn't have any gas pains either after that. So, I don't know. So that morning, my dietitian came to visit me and to tell me all about the liquid diet and what I was going to be allowed to eat and drink after I went home. A chaplain came to visit me. I don't know why after surgery, but whatever. A PA came to visit me to check in on me, and then my surgeon came to visit me probably around noon. Now, he chose the wrong time to come visit me because I did have a little incident where I was not feeling very well. When I got my tray, they brought it in very late. I didn't get it till like 11 o'clock. It was the lunch tray. They never gave me a breakfast tray. So I was so excited that I had a big bowl of chicken broth. I had a cup of decaffeinated tea. And I had a bottle of just a regular bottled water with a Crystal Light packet. And then I also had some Jell-O that I had from earlier, because that morning the nurse had given me my meds with Jell-O instead of in water, and Jell-O was much better. So I was just so excited. I was just trying everything, so I wanted to see how I did with it. So I took a few sips of everything, even the Crystal Light. So I did all that, and I was feeling fine. And then it was time for the nurse to bring my pain medication. Now, the pain medication is a liquid, and it's very sweet, and it has alcohol in it. So when I took that, on top of all that other stuff that I had just had, it was too much. I mean, I didn't throw up, but I felt like I wanted to. I was nauseous and lightheaded, and I was hot, and it was just, I felt terrible. Whereas before this, I had felt so good. And then, of course, this is the time that my surgeon decides to walk in when I was feeling so awful. And he was asking me how I was doing, and then I had to tell him the truth about how I was doing. And then he's like, oh, he was concerned, and he said, well, he's like, if that clears up, since I'm drinking so well, because I was, then you can go home later on today. And I was like, yes, I hope that I can go home. And sure enough, I got up every few hours to go walking, which was kind of a pain because I couldn't get up by myself because I was attached to all these different things that they had to come unattach me. While you're in bed, they have these compression things on your legs that are connected to the bed. So they're constantly, squeezing, going in and out, like massaging your legs kind of, to help prevent blood clots. And I can't get out of that thing either without help. And so it was kind of annoying that every single time I wanted to get up and walk, I had to hit my call button and have someone unhook me from all of these things so that I could get up and walk. That was probably my biggest complaint, is that I didn't walk as much as I actually wanted to because I felt like I was bothering them every time I wanted to go walk down the hallway. So let's see. I don't think there was anything else important with that except for soon before I got a chance to get released, I got a phone call from my insurance company. It was a nurse from my insurance company, and she wanted to know how I was doing and wanted to know if I was getting ready for my surgery the next week. And I was like, I just had surgery yesterday. It's not next week. And she said, her record showed that my surgery was supposed to be on the 10th, not the 4th. And then she said, she'll talk to me, she'll look into it, and she'll talk to me again once I'm released from the hospital. So, I don't know what my doggie is looking at. Probably birds. The birds outside always bother her. So, I was a little concerned then because I'm thinking, okay, so my insurance company doesn't even know I'm in the hospital right now. She said, she's like, it's probably nothing to worry about. Probably. But she did call me 2 days later after I was discharged and was asking me all these questions about my care and all that stuff. And she still didn't say anything about the change in dates. So I still don't know, even right now, I don't know what's going to happen with that, if that's going to affect anything. I hope I'm still approved for my surgery that I already had. I guess that's it. So I was released that night, actually by about 6 p.m. So, I was only in that room for 24 hours. The only thing I used from my bag was my robe. That was really nice because, I didn't feel like changing into any clothes or a gown or anything like that. I was laying in bed all day. I didn't really feel like doing that. And so really every time I got up to walk, I would just grab my robe, wrap it around me, and go walk down the hallway. And when I got back to the room, I would toss the robe, onto the couch and then get back into the bed. To me, that was easy. And I didn't use anything else in my bag except for chapstick and my phone charger. So phone charger, my chapstick, and my robe. That was the only things that I ended up using. Okay, this is still very long, sorry, but that is what happened on my pretty much 24 hours in the hospital. Bye.